The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Today we'll start with cluster setup. So in last couple of sessions, we have seen setting up environment, uh, checking components of Hadoop, checking their services, how they're communicating to each other, and many different approaches, right? Now, how we'll implement that? How we'll implement name node, data node, secondary name node? What do we mean by cluster? How many different types of cluster we have? What is a manual cluster, what is a standalone, what is a distribution packages. Those things we'll cover today. So that's the agenda for today. Setting up the environment and running Hadoop. I'll be using Amazon Web Services as my virtual instances. You can do the same thing in your local machine also. In local machine, as in you can install VMware, and you can open your Ubuntu using VMware and do the same thing. Okay, so let's start first. What do we mean by cluster when we say cluster? Cluster has got three different types. First one is a standalone, and specifically I'm talking about, so let me write, this is a manual cluster, guys. And why I'm writing manual along with the cluster? Because all this activity we will be doing, we'll download Hadoop from Apache website, we'll download Java from Oracle, we'll extract both the file, we'll set the path, go to XML, open their property one by one. So everything is done by us. Okay, it's not provided by Cloudera, Hortonworks, or Mapr. Now I'll give you a difference between manual cluster and distribution packages. So distribution packages are good to start a development task directly. But if you want to learn how cluster setup is done step by step, then distribution packages is not a right option. Manual is the right option. And in real time, this job is done by Hadoop administrator. Okay, but since we are creating our own cluster and then we'll be deploying things there, so we need to know this manual cluster approach also. First one is a standalone. Currently all of your system is a standalone. Standalone means we're not we are not installing anything in this machine. All local softwares are there, such as WinSCP, IntelliJ, VMware. Okay, and we develop our code using IntelliJ in this standalone machine. Then we copy to our production server using WinSCP software. WinSCP is one FTP software, third-party software, to copy your data from one machine to second machine or server. So let's say this is a standalone machine. This is a machine which you are using currently. So you build your all jar file, all programs here, and then from here you want to copy this to server, and you have created your server in AWS. This is in Mumbai. Location you can choose, but currently we are in India and near to Pune. So there's one server. I will show you that how you can check number of data center provided by Amazon. Once you understand one cloud concept, you can work with a Google Cloud Platform, Microsoft Azure, you can pick up any. So I'm transferring all the file from this standalone machine to server using FTP software. I'll not name it FileZilla or WinSCP. We can use any file transfer protocol to copy file from here to there. That's what is a is a final development task or work. Second is a single node cluster. So this is what we use in production environment. In real-time industry, suppose we have 5 developers working with one space, right? So all we are not going to individual machine and we are setting Hadoop there. What we do, we set up all Hadoop related stake in this server, and we create a credentials, and we share the credentials to individual people so that they can log in using putty. They can open their putty, they can give their host name and username and log into the server. I'll come to all the software names which I'm uh, saying and mentioning. Do not worry if you do not know what is WinSCP, what is FileZilla, what is putty. We'll come to that once our server is in place. So we need to spin up this instances in Amazon Web Services. Single node cluster. What do we mean by single node cluster? All Hadoop related service is running in one machine. That's what is a single node. Node is instance. So name node, data node, secondary name node, job tracker, task tracker in 1.x. In 2.x, we have resource manager and node manager. So if this all 5 services, let me write it here: name node, data node, secondary name node, resource manager, and node manager. These 3 are for storage part, and this 2 is for processing. These 5 services are running in one machine, hence we call it a single node cluster. How about multi-node cluster? Multi-node cluster. This is my production setup. How we set in production, okay? And how this multi-node cluster will look like. Now I'll keep 4 node for master. We know that Hadoop is driven by master and worker methodology or the concept. So I'll have active name node, standby name node, active name node and a standby name node. We're keeping 2 because we don't want to face a downtime. This was the challenge in Hadoop 1.x. If you have revised previous video, Hadoop 1.x, we say name node is a single point of failure because there is no backup available. But currently we're in 2.x. So here we have got high availability concept. That's why we'll be creating a multiple name node. Same time, both will not be active, but the moment this gets down, the active one gets down, immediately this will take all the load. And hence I won't be having any downtime. That's the reason we are creating multiple. I'll cover this part when we compare Hadoop 1.x and 2.x. So there are few points to compare between 2 different versions. Then active resource manager and standby resource manager. This is a master for processing, and this is a master for copying the data, right? All metadata information is available in this name node. So when any client is communicating or requesting to read or write the file, first request always goes to name node. And then based on their metadata, they shortlist client is near to which data node and try to give that information to client. Then client can read it, right? Data locality concept. Again, the same concept. If active resource manager is down, standby resource manager can take a all load of it. This is my one node. This is my second node. This is my third node. This is my fourth node. So in individual machine, physical machine, we are setting up all the properties for individual services. They're dedicated machine only for one service. They're dedicated only for standby. So likewise, I have total number of node 4. Then slaves are located or residing together. And when I say slave, I mean data node, and node manager. Data node and node manager. Now, this is total 4. And if I'm working in a production environment, so how do we decide the size of cluster? If I'm saying you, my organization is having 100 node cluster, 100 node cluster. I'm just saying it, okay? So when I say 100 node cluster means my cluster size is having 100 100 odd nodes. So how many are master and how many are slave? That's a big question. Out of this 100 node, how many services are master and how many services are slave? And first thing, you cannot randomly say you need this many nodes, 100 node, 50 node, 20 node. This is purely based on just one factor, which is the volume of your data. So based on this data volume we create, there's a formula. I'll prove this formula later on. For now, you can just note this down somewhere. Formula is equal to C stand for compression ratio, R stand for replication factor, S is a source of data. C into R into S divided by 1 minus I divided by 1 minus I into 120%. I'll come to this formula later when we calculate this volume of data, when we spin up our multi-node cluster. Today we'll first see single node cluster. Okay, C stands for compression ratio, R is a replication factor, S is a source of data, I will be some intermediate factor. We'll prove it, don't worry. Now, how many master and how many slave we have here? So master is always 4, as we have seen there, active standby. So master number is my total 4, and if you subtract 100 minus 4, how many slave? 96 slave, which means data node and node manager. So all this data we are keeping in this 96 node. They're just responsible to mediate between client and slave, right? Master services are just mediator. Actual job is done by slave services in form of data node and node manager. Now, if you have a question, we are dedicatedly setting this name node uh, resource manager in individual machine, but why we are keeping data node and node manager together? Why don't we set data node in one machine and node manager in another machine? There's a reason. Suppose you have 100 MB of data stored in one machine, which is your data node 1. This is your data node 1. And just to check this, what you did, you set your node manager in another machine. Try to dedicate the services. Now we know this is for storage, and this is for process. It will process this same 100 MB data. Now when you submit a job using MapReduce or Spark, so this node manager will go to this node first, try to communicate with this data node. So there will be some IOPS time, input output time. Then it will fetch this 100 MB data from here to there. It will process it here and again write the same output to data node. Can you see how many time communication? One network transfer packet, second transfer packet, third transfer packet. So just to processing 100 MB data or whatever data I'm processing, if I'm setting in individual machine, problem is with time. My transfer rate will increase. What if I keep my data node and node manager together? This is the standard architecture in Hadoop. Always your slaves are residing together. So if I keep my data node and name node manager together, I have my data available in this machine only. My 100 MB data, which can be any text file, is available in this machine. Now, node manager is not going anywhere else to read the file. Node manager can read the file from the same machine, process it, and write back to it. So this is one big reason. And oftentimes we see that why master we are setting separately and slaves we are keeping in one machine. Because if I keep master, let me challenge again this argument. Let me argue that on behalf of you. So there's a name node, there's a resource manager. I set this both in one machine. This both the services, both the master, I'm setting in one machine. Okay. What if this machine is down? What if you lose this machine? Because you're working with the data, you're working with a large cluster. Anytime any error can come. And if you lose this cluster, means you lose both the services, name node also, resource manager also, right? And this is what is a downtime. Just to handle this, we're setting individual machine. We are setting up machine like this. Name node, I'll say active name node, standby name node, active resource manager, and standby resource manager. If this is down, no problem. If any of this machine is down, I don't have any issues because I have my standby machine available, right? So that's the reason we're keeping master separately. It's a strategic solution. It's a strategy built by Hadoop or parallel processing engineers or experts who worked with this concept in 2004 when Hadoop was in building stage. Okay, so this is your three different types of manual cluster: standalone, single node, multi-node. Today we'll be starting with single node cluster first. Then we'll understand what is multi-node once we understand the single node. Now, how about distribution packages? What is the difference between manual cluster and distribution packages? So I'll name some of them. And if you have read about a little bit of Hadoop, you know that uh, Cloudera, Hortonworks, MapR. Nowadays, we have cloud services, Amazon, Google, Microsoft. They have their own uh, inbuilt Hadoop stack services. So distribution, just a second. Distribution packages. These are the name. And quick start is available. So Cloudera, let me write a name. Cloudera CDH 6.0. When you download this and open using your VMware, no need to do this all the activity. No need to download Hadoop separately, Java separately. Everything is already in place. So this is already pre-built. This is already pre-built Hadoop services. So it's like I'm logging here and directly accessing my data, directly writing my data from local file system to Hadoop distributed file system. No need to download and do all that activities. Good for development, but not for learning. Second is HDP. So once you learn, then I'll suggest you can go to Cloudera and definitely you can work. HDP stands for Hortonworks. Same thing. Here also you get a pre-built Hadoop services. Third, we have MapR. MapR is now owned by HP. So HP has acquired, I think, this 2 years ago. Okay. This is again one distribution package. Nowadays we have cloud computing. This is what I will use today because as a Hadoop or big data engineer, nowadays company expect from you to know any of the cloud services. I'll take example of Amazon Web Services because most of the share of cloud is currently with Amazon. Second position goes to, if I tell you the number, this is 36%, this is 11%, and GCP's is 9%. Amazon Web Services gives me EMR, Elastic MapReduce, similar as CDH. So I can go log into this Amazon Web Services and spin up my cluster in EMR and start using Hadoop services. Again, this is all pre-built. Here also we have some services running. In GCP also we have some services running. Today we are starting single node cluster. So what are the steps we have to perform? Step number one, I believe you guys have created AWS account. So create AWS account first. Or I'm assuming that you already have AWS account. So we'll directly start spinning up our cluster. Spin up instance in EC2. So I'll be writing steps like this and then directly going to the practical stage. Here I have already logged into my Amazon services. This is my account. This is very important, guys. Sometimes we forget to change this because by default if you log in to this AWS, first time they give you Ohio data center. If you directly create Ohio data center, you start spinning up your instances in Ohio, your transfer rate will be very high. You're sitting in India, right? And your whole data communication will travel to US and come back to from US to India. Okay, so make sure that you're changing this data center to Mumbai at first place. Once this is done, I'll go to services, and this is all the services provided by Amazon. I was talking about this service, EMR. This EMR is all inbuilt or pre-built. This is what I said. Here we have all the Hadoop services already available. So EMR is good for development task, not for cluster setup and all. Cluster setup activity is good with EC2. EC2 stand for Elastic Cloud Compute. Okay. Now the best part I like personally in EC2, I can create any operating system. Just keep in mind, you can create any OS. You can start with Ubuntu, Fedora, Debian, Red Hat, Amazon AMI, Amazon Images we call. Then you can use Windows R2 server. You can get any operating system. That's one. Second, you can increase and decrease this resources. You can increase and decrease this resources, RAM. And third is your CPU. So currently you have your physical machine, right? This is fixed. This is fixed. RAM and CPU and OS is fixed. In EC2, once you spin up your instances, OS will be fixed, but RAM and CPU you can increase and decrease. This is not fixed. And you can increase and decrease based on your requirement. If you are handling more amount of data, then you can increase your resources. If you're handling less amount of data, you can decrease it. But yeah, it's not all free. You get some services free. So for some services, you'll have to pay them. Okay. So I feel for practice purpose, Amazon is definitely a good platform, but they do not give you more credit. If you go to Google Cloud Platform, GCP, GCP gives you some $300 credit. So we can use 22,000 INR credit in this GCP. Anyways, what strategy we are following in Hadoop or what interface we are seeing, it's not different. Just the interface or the login procedure of GCP will be different, but rest of the part is 101% same. It's not different from MA or GCP or AWS. If you know one cloud, you can understand any cloud. Okay, let me go to this EC2 and start selecting OS. This is my EC2. Here you can see launching instances. You can see the option launch instance. I'll click on this launch instance. It is asking me which OS you want to use it. So if you want to use a free one only, you can check this box, free tier only. There's many OS you can use freely. So I'm going to use first, I'm going to use Ubuntu server. I can use Red Hat also. Mostly your backend services or Hadoop is compiled. Hadoop binary is compiled with the Unix OS. That's why it supports Linux based operating system compared to Windows. You cannot directly install Hadoop in Windows. There is a third party software. So if you want to install this in Windows, I'll not recommend it, but personally, because in Windows, uh, nobody's installing. I have seen whatever server, whatever client I have worked with, their all operating system is packed with the Linux OS. So if you want to install your Hadoop services in Windows, you cannot directly do this. You need a third party service. So that third party service is a Cygwin. This name is a Cygwin. Cygwin, you'll connect with Cygwin, then Cygwin will do all that setup on behalf of you. Okay. That's a little complex and tedious part to set up in Windows. So I can check anyone, Ubuntu or Red Hat. Let me create a Ubuntu server. Can we read couple of information? What is the version of Ubuntu? 18.04. Then this is a SSD type. SSD is an enterprise hardware. We have HDD and SSD. SSD stand for solid state drive. Then what is a bit? It is 64-bit OS. Um, EBS stand for Elastic Block Store, right? Just like in Windows, you have NTFS storage type. In Unix and Linux, we have a different type of storage like Dave 1 and Dave 2. Then in Mac, it is a SDA and DMG. So it's a different types of storage. Amazon uses EBS, Elastic Block Store. Click on this, select. Then it is asked. So we have selected operating system. Now next, Second step, define resources. Define resources. When I say resources, I mean RAM, obviously, and CPU. These two things I can call as a resources. So first by default option is coming as T2.micro. These are their name. T2.nano, micro, small, medium. This is their number of core processing unit, CPU. This is their RAM. This is their internal storage type. Well, this is same for all. I focus on column number third and column number fourth, CPU and memory. If I choose the free one, I get one CPU and 1 GB RAM. If my requirement increases and I think that I need at least 2 core, multi-core processor and 8 GB RAM, I can do this also. Okay. Once the cluster is created, I can increase and decrease. This option I will tell you once my cluster is ready. Currently, I'm using this free one, which is a general purpose, free tier eligible. There's an option next to this. Next, configure instance details. So I'm clicking on this option. Okay, if you can see my cursor, I click on this option, configure instance detail. Now it is asking me how many instances you want to launch. You want to launch one instance or you want to launch multiple instances. You've seen here, we are doing single node cluster, which means all services we are doing in one machine. If it is a multi-node cluster, then definitely I will say I will launch 3 instances. Okay, so just bear with me. Currently, since we're doing this one, I'll select one instances. No need to check other thing. All thing is by default set. You will have to click on this next, aid storage. Other services are like if any disaster happened with your server, your cluster is destroyed. So you want to take a backup, you want to create images, those options are there. You don't want to create a backup in images currently because this single node cluster we are spinning for our testing and practice purpose, learning purpose. This is not our production server. So no need to check these boxes. But if you think, you can check this, you can read this option, protect against accidental termination. So if the moment I click on this checkbox, it will immediately create one image once this whole single instance is available and ready. Okay. Aid storage. This is a hard disk type. How many SSD I need? What is the size of solid state drive? By default, they provide you 8 GB here, and you can read this. You can read this line. Free tier eligible customer can get up to 30 GB. So you can use 30 GB of free EBS storage without paying a single bucks, and or magnetic storage. About free using free tier eligibility, so 8 GB, 30 GB. I can increase up to 30 GB, but 8 GB I can do it. Okay, so no need to increase this. I'll keep it same by default. Next, aid tax. So let me write it. Let me write it here. Third point. What did we do? Uh, define SSD storage. SSD storage. And by default, this is 8 GB in our case. By default, this RAM is 1 GB, and CPU is also 1. Aid tax. This step number 5th is optional. Currently, it is optional because you are creating only one instance. You're creating only one instance. What if you create a multiple instances? Suppose you have total 10 instance. You want to create 10 instance. 3 instance you want to create in Mumbai. 3 instance you want to spin up in this data center. Then 5 instance you want to call in Ohio. 2 instance you want to create in Asia Pacific region, Sydney or Singapore. Okay. So when you have 10 instances, and separately created all these three in different data center, then this tag is important, required. Just to remember that this instance is running in Mumbai, this is in Ohio, this is in Asia. Currently, we have just one instance and that is running in Mumbai. So no need to create it. Uh, Next, configure security group. This is the most important step, I would say, because if you make a mistake in this security grouping, then you cannot communicate to your cloud server. Your cloud will start giving you issues. So check this carefully. This rules I'm setting that how many people can access this cloud, how many people can access this machine. Can you access from your location or can I only access from my location? Let me set the values here first. By default, it is SSH, and SSH, if you know, it stands for Secure Cell. It's a TCP protocol, Transfer Control Protocol. Their port range is by default 22. So whenever I want to communicate from one machine to second machine, whenever I want to communicate, I want to establish remote communication between these two machines. Then what do? We communicate using SSH. This is one protocol. Using this SSH, using port number 22, we communicate and we jump to this server, which is somewhere located in remote location. This is my local machine. Okay, because currently I'm sitting here. This remote I'm launching in Mumbai. How can I communicate? How can I communicate to remote using this SSH? So this is by default there. Now, few more rules we will add. Second rule is all transfer control protocol. I'll allow all the communication in between this interval 0 to 65535. This is all possible range. So I can create a multiple ports and communicate from multiple client to this machine, right? If you know the concept of port, if one port is occupied, the same port cannot be used by other user. Okay, that's why we're creating a bunch of ports so that many people can communicate to this cloud, not just one person at a time. Second rule I will add as a ICMP IPv4. ICMP stand for Internet Control Message Protocol. Okay, and there are two different IPv4 and IPv6. IPv4 and IPv6. If you know about this two IP, this is a public IP and this is a private IP. So if I want to make a communication internally within the cluster, I want to exchange some information internally, I will use IPv6. But if I want to give this user access, like when you go to google.com, let me open Google server. Okay, when I go to this, this communication which I'm doing, this is not IPv6, this is IPv4. So they are allowing all their client to communicate using this IPv4. So using this IPv4, then I can go to this DNS, which is google.com. We know that's a domain name server. Okay, so this IP is in your machine also. You can open your command prompt and type ipconfig. You'll see for VMnet 1, Ethernet, LAN, MAN, WAN, three different networks we have, right? Like if I don't want to go to network area side more, but just one knowledge I'll give you. LAN is local area network, MAN is a metropolitan area network, wide area network, right? So based on this area networks, we define the protocols and we define the IP addresses. But this is whole bunch of knowledge required for network analysis if I want to be a network infrastructure guy. But since we are setting all this machine and instances, we'll have to have this knowledge. So ICMP is done. Then I want to deploy this in web. I want to deploy this cloud in web. I want to check my all the services running in some of the website. I want to assign it to some domain name, right? So I need a web. And how do you communicate to your web? For web communication, we need two protocol. If you remember, what is this? Can you see this lock mark? If I click there, let me actually do that. So if I click there, can you see there is a HTTP? Can you see there is a HTTPS? Lock sign is nothing but it's a sign for SSL. So secure socket layer. So secure socket layer, uh, if you do not have this, your payment gateway does not work. That's just one concept. and for security reason, obviously, that you should not have any malware attack and all. So web communication we always establish using two protocol, HTTP and HTTPS, hypertext transfer protocol. Hypertext transfer protocol secure. This last stand for. Okay. And they have a by default port number, guys. This is having 80, this is having 443. The moment I select, automatically this port number will be selected. No need to give this manually. So I'll go to aid rule again, click on my HTTP service. Let me click this. Can you see this port number 80? And one more port I will add for HTTPS. This is 443. So this 5 rule is common for communication purpose, because if you do not aid this TCP, you cannot communicate to this cloud. Again, then you need to go there, check your inbuilt, check your uh, inbound services, outbound services. So this services will come inside inbound and outbound. How communication inbound means client is communicating to your services which you are creating in Mumbai currently. This is all inbound. If this is communicating to this is known as outbound. Inbound rules and outbound rules. Now, once you selected type and range, protocol we know. How about this column? Source column. Description is just for your understanding, that you can write any description so that some other person open this instances or this console, they understand this rule is written for what purpose. Description is is not required here, but the source is very important factor or column, I would say. Can we click on this drop down option and see this custom? Custom means currently we have 6 people attending the session. So 6 people are there currently. All the 6 people have a different IP. All the 6 will have some IP like 192, 168. I'm just assuming this IP. Let's just assume. Then 192, 168, 11.2, such that 6 people have 192, 168, 11.6. Now suppose I want to give only access to this two IPs. I want to give access only to this two IP. I don't want to give access to other 4 IPs. Then what I'll do, I'll use this custom source. In custom, I will give this IP addresses and save my instance. Then only this machine can communicate. This is a very secure reason. Okay, so if your business is very sensitive and you think that only this client can communicate or should be able to communicate, then you define this IP addresses. That's about the custom services. Second option, anywhere. Anywhere is anybody can communicate. Whenever you see 0.0.0.0, this allows all the IP. So from anywhere, any across the globe, if anybody have internet access, they can access this cloud instances. How about third option, my IP? So this my IP will take only my system IP, which means only I can communicate, and I can communicate from the location where I'm sitting, because this IP, if I move from this location to any other location, this IP will change. And what is this IP? This IP is my public IP. My public IP provided by my ISP, Internet Service Provider. So whichever ISP I'm using, it has given this address to me. If I go to Google and type here my public IP, can you see this IP 122.69.94.249? Let's go back here and match it. This is the same IP, which means only from this internet service provider people, like if 5 people are using this ISP, they can access my cloud. This is even more secure. So all these 3 options are there. Okay, you can set it as per your requirement. Currently, I'll keep it anywhere. So anybody can communicate to this machine. These are just given for security purpose, like firewalls. We bound our services that only this many people can access. Very important stage. Always double check your step number 6. Once this is done, review and launch. Now you will edit all the point that whatever is given, everything is correct or not. Once you're satisfied, you can click on this launch. Can you see this? Can you see this warning? What it says? Improve your instance security. Your security group launch wizard is open to the world. What do we mean by this? They're saying that anybody can access this services. They can send any malware packet and can hack your system, right? So if I'm working with such application like banking, if I'm working with a banking application, if I'm working with a transaction application, if I'm doing any kind of payment gateway applications, if I'm into healthcare service, right? So this application are very sensitive. You're not supposed to make this whole instances open for the world. And that's why what you do, you only keep this information available for your premise. You can only access this from your premise. Okay. So for this application, when we are deploying these applications, we will have to not open this for all the world. We will have to keep it only till our premise. Only people can access who are sitting in this premise. Once you're agreed and all the point is done, click on this launch. When you go and click on this launch, it in first option you get choose an existing key pair. So obviously if you're doing first time, you do not have any key, you'll have to click on this, create a new key pair. Never select this, proceed without a key pair, because this is like you're saying somebody that without a password anybody can communicate to your account, right? So obviously not a good practice. Create a new key pair, second option, and you can give your name. Let's say you're giving AWS Cloud. This name can be anything, okay? This is just a logical name. Once you give a name, you will have to click on this download key pair. When you click on this download key pair, your key will be downloaded, okay? But I have already one key available with me. I have created instances, so I'll use my existing key pair. And when I click on existing key pair, it automatically selects my available key, name underscore deploy underscore ds, okay? And this is my agreement that I'm saying this machine can only be communicated using this key pair, not other key pair. And click on this launch instances. So this is my finalist spinning. I'm clicking on this now, launch instance. The moment I click on this launch instance, first check your instance are now launching. The following instance launches have been initiated, and you can read this couple of information. Now, what is important for me, I'll click on this view instances. View instances. This is last one is my current spinned EC2 instance. You can see this is running. These are all my different production instances. Some I'm using for data science, some using for multi-node cluster. This is a multi-node cluster. I've created one master and two slave. Okay. Currently they're currently in a stopped state, because whenever I need to start them or any requirement comes to work with this multi-node cluster, I start them manually and I start working with it. So always recommended, because they give you free services for 720 hours. They give you free services for 720 hours, or 720 hours or 3 months, whichever is near. 3 months or 12 months, I think, whichever is near. Okay. So if you launch if you use if you start this services and this is running 24/7, right? You assume that your free services is completed in early stage. So remember this: whenever you want to work, only start them. If you don't want to work with them, you can stop them. So manage them carefully. I'll tell you how to start and stop them. Let me first give a name. This is my uh, AWS online single node cluster. I've just given any name. Okay, this name are logical. It's not necessary that you'll have to give only the name which I'm giving. You can give any other name. You can write your name also. Now currently I'm working. That's why it's running. After, let's say, once we complete this session, I'll go to the sections, instance state, and can you see the options? There's an option for stop, there's an option for start, there's an option for terminate. Terminate means you want to destroy this. You don't want this instances anymore. You want to delete this instance. Okay. So that's the terminate. Currently it's running. And now we want to access this. This is all the services. And if you want to see where I can see all that rule, which I have added, SSH, ICMP, IPv4, HTTP, HTTPS, and one more service called TCP. So we have added 5 rules there. If you want to see that rule, you can click on this. This is your security groups and you can edit it. Okay. Those are your inbound and outbound services. So just for verification purpose, I'm showing you this. Detail is there. This is my inbound rules. This is all my inbound rules, which I have added there. This is all my inbound rules. This is an outbound rule. Outbound means I'm trying to communicate from this EC2 instance back to my local machine. Okay. No need to change this anything. No need to change this and again go back to EC2. Just a second. Okay, I'll go to this instance. Yeah. How do I communicate to this machine? Check this box and you will see there is one public DNS. DNS stands for domain name server. So you can use this DNS to communicate, or you can use this IP address also. You can use this IP address also for the communication purpose. Okay. Now, how do you communicate? How do you know how to communicate? There's an option for connect. So check this box, whichever instance you want to use it, and click on this connect. When you click on this connect, it gives you option. This is the way to connect. First option is for Windows people. This is for Windows people who access this using putty. And to get more information about it, how to log in Windows and all, already I have written a blog, and this all the blog is there in the site. So if you face any difficulties while doing such activity, go to this blog and there's an AWS module created. Click on this AWS. If you have not created an account, you can create your account using this option. In the left panel, you can see all the options. Create an AWS account, steps to launch an EC2 instances. Let me click on this. And I'm specifically showing you this because my OS is Mac. It's not Windows, because if I would have shown you the same thing, you can follow this in your machine also. But my step is similar to Unix. So if anybody out of you are using Ubuntu or using Linux or using CentOS or using Red Hat, this is all Linux based OS, right? So this OS, this operating behavior or the processor is very similar as this. So exactly all they follow the same step. Windows is little different compared to this all. That's what I'm showing you currently. So to log into Windows, you can download this putty. Screenshot is attached, guys. I think you can follow this on. So instance instance is there. Putty is already downloaded. You can create your PPK keys and log in to this instance. So let me log in from my machine now. I'll open a terminal. I'll open a terminal. This is my terminal. And here, I will first go and see where is my key, because I can communicate to this instance using this key. I can communicate to this instance using this key, right? So I need to find out where is this key located in my machine. It is available in downloads. So I'll go to downloads. Whatever command I'm running, this is all Unix related command. CD downloads. I'm listing my file using ls-lrt. And if you see, If you see here, it is inside AWS PEM. The last file is my key. This is my key. Nilesh underscore deploy underscore ds underscore PAM. Okay. How do I communicate? I'll follow this connection. It says SSHI, then you can give your PEM name, then you can give your username. And by default, what is the username whenever you guys launch after following this video? So by default, username is Ubuntu, guys. Username is Ubuntu, or you can use EC2 user also. You can use EC2. Let me erase this. You can use EC2 minus user also. These two username will work. Anyone you can use it. Then this is my DNS. Okay. Let me do this now. So I'll select this DNS, and there's a clipboard. No need to use all that manual method to copy this all. There's a clipboard sign after everything. You can click on this clipboard, automatically it will copy. Once this copied, I'll go back to my terminal, clear my screen. This is my PEM. SSH minus I. Then I'll give my PEM name. Then I'll give my username @_v. Control V. I'm pasting it. This is the same thing which I have seen in my connect option. Click on this. Now, when I click this, it says you want to connect to this IP. Are you sure? I'll say yes. When I click yes, now I am connected to. Can you see it now? Now I have connected to my EC2 instances. 1 second, it's fluctuating. Now I have connected to my EC2 instance. This is the IP address. You can match this IP address also from here. Let's go and see, do we have any private IP lost? Okay, this is the private IP, right? This is the private IP 172.32.32.222. This is my private IP. So now I can start working here. So far, stepwise, you spin your cluster, your instance, you define your resources, you define your SSD storage. Then fourth option, you add rules for communication. And what was the rule? SSH was by default there. Then we added all TCP. Then we added ICMP, IPv4, then STTP for web communication, and STTPS. These 5 services we added, and last we launch it. This part is done. Step number 6. Now you want to set up the cluster for Hadoop, so you will have to download all the Hadoop software and JDK. Download JDK and Hadoop. And which version of JDK and Hadoop you will have to download? JDK I will download 1.8 and Hadoop I will download any version of 2.x. Do not worry, I can take 2.2, 2.6, 2.9, anything. Let me take 2.6.0. So this 2 version I will download and I start doing my activities. Yes, Atim, you can use 30 GB up till 30 GB. Fine, guys. So we are going to download this JDK and Hadoop. Now, how will download this JDK and Hadoop? And if you're not doing any activity for long time, if once you log in and you leave this terminal, it is sometime terminated as in your session will be inactive. Okay, the session will be inactive, and to skip that inactive behavior, you can type top. Top means some background services will be running by default and your session will be in active mode. It won't go to inactive. uh, this is kind of net banking concept, right? If you log into your net banking, you do not do anything for more than 2 minutes or 3 minutes, automatically you logged out from the account. The same thing is this. If I use some metaphor, so now I'm going in a search of Hadoop and JDK. The best way, no need to go to any company. In Google, we type Apache, or even I type just Hadoop download, plain syntax, a plain keyword. When I type this Hadoop download, scroll down. This is the index where from Hadoop first generation to last generation, everything is available. You want to use 1.x, 2.x, 3.x, anything you can use it. But a stable version is currently with 2.x. That's why we are taking this version, and to precisely 2.6.0. I'll click on this. I'll click on this and scroll down. Scroll down. 2.6.0. Now, which file to download here? I already said you one hack here that the file which is bigger with the size, download that. You can check this is a bigger file, and I will download this. Now, if I click on this link right here, download will start in my local machine. I don't want to install in my local machine. I want to install this service in AWS, and that too in which data center? Mumbai data center. Okay, so this is the approach. How to get it? Right click on this. Right click on this. Do not directly download, guys, because if you download here, it is installing in your local machine. Remember this point, because oftentimes we download in local and we think that how we'll copy there in EC2 instances. Right click here and check the option where is a copy address option. So there's option copy link address. I'll copy this, go back to my EC2, go back to my EC2, Control C, clear my screen. And how do we download in Unix based operating system? If any of you knows or do not know, I'll tell you that. How to download any link from here. So if you want to download anything here, this is not a dashboard, right? Unix is not very user friendly. First thing, Ubuntu and all this Linux based OS are not user friendly. You don't have any dashboard. You just have this black box or the white box as a terminal. And all the activity you will have to be doing here, like copy, changing, deleting, removing, directory creation, anything. In Windows, you have a good beautiful dashboard. You can use that interface and use your activities, but here I'll be using command. If I want to download anything from Apache community, I will use here one command called wget. Wget stands for webget. If I want to download anything in Ubuntu, I will use this wget. This is a command to download the file. Let me write wget, and whatever I have copied from here there, I will paste it. So I clicked on this copy link address, and then I have pasted that link here. And now I'll enter. Trust me, this whole download will just happen in less than 20 seconds. This is way fast because their communication protocol is very high than Windows. Okay, you can watch the time. I'm doing all this thing in front of you. 18-second total. So it did justice to my comment, right? Less than 20 seconds. Now, if I want to see this, I'll click on ls minus lrt. I can see this file. People who are still struggling to understand this commands, strongly recommend, guys, please follow all Unix command. I'm keep repeating this because if this thing is not clear, you'll feel some of the thing is not clear. The concept itself won't be clear because Hadoop is following 80% of this Unix command. I'm not well started any Hadoop commands yet, but when I start Hadoop activity, you'll see I can relate 80% commands with Unix. So if you're good with this, you'll see Hadoop commands is just a cakewalk for you. Okay, so spend some time there. Unix command. I've already shown you my blocks where my blog is written. You can write me back if you're unable to find it anything, because I'm not getting any question from you. So I'm assuming that all of you are good with the Unix command. Once this is downloaded, what is the next step to not what is the next requirement? I need a Java also. Again, I'll use top because I don't want to inactive my session. So whenever I go out from this terminal, I will use top. And JDK Java, you can get it from here. So you can type download JDK 1.8. So you get Oracle link. Click on this link, and this is a file. But which one you need? You need Linux based uh, Linux based tar file, because this is all with a different extension. This is with the Linux RPM. So make sure that you're selecting the right file. Okay, which one is the right file? I'll tell you that. So here this is compiled with two different bits, right? Every machine has two different bits, 32-bit and 64-bit. Currently, which one we have selected for Ubuntu? 64-bit. We did not select 32. So I'll get this file. I'll get this file. I want this file to download. JDK8U241 Linux x64.tar.zz, and use this 1.8 version only. Do not use 1.9, 10.0, 13, 12, because they are not stable. You'll going forward, Spark and other things, when we see, you'll face difficulties because they're not stable with the version. So please focus on the version also, because in Hadoop this is a big issue. Compatibility. If you're not following compatibility, you'll often encounter many bugs are coming, and then you'll screwed up, like how to handle this. So it's better that have a good practice. Always check the compatibility. You can Google it up also, that Hadoop is compatible with which version, and download that. Just do not download anything blindly. Okay. OpenJDK install Ubuntu, can that be okay? And that's okay, Hatim. Yeah. So if you type Java minus version, which version it is giving you should not be more than 1.8. And if you keep 1.6 and 1.7, Spark is not flexible with that. That's why I'm specifying specific version 1.8. Okay. If you use 1.7, 1.7, 1.6, and 7, it will work. But some of the services, latest services of Hadoop community cannot support it. So this is a big time issues in Hadoop. This is a big time issues, compatibility. So double sure whenever you check anything. If you're not sure, please go and ask Google that which version is compatible. Even in Apache page also, when you go, they will tell you that this version of JDK is compatible with this version of Hadoop. In many information, you just need to type some keywords and start following all that step. Okay. So since I want to download this, again I'll do same thing. I'll right click on this, copy link address, go to my instance, clear my screen, wget, and paste it. But can you see it? When I paste it, it is giving me one HTML file. It's not giving me any tar or CZ file. So Oracle does not give you PPA repository, unlike Hadoop. I'll download this using some other approach. So I've created one PPA in my account. I'll forward that to you guys also, and I'm using that PPA. I'm using my own PPA. So JDK download for or AWS JDK. Java for AWS. So this is one PPA. I'll share this PPA to you guys also, and you just need to copy this whole address, wget, and paste it here. That's it. Enter. Again, the downloading is started from this IP they connected. Now this is a Java download. Meanwhile, let me write it here. So we are in sixth stage. My download JDK and download Hadoop is done. Now seventh step, actually my Hadoop setup started from here only. Okay, till this, from first to fifth, I was just spinning up my instances. This is like creating a virtual machine. And from sixth step, I'm actually doing my setup. So this is where my Hadoop setup started. Seventh, I will untar. I will untar the file. Untar. Uh, if I say in lemon terms, I'll say I'm trying to extract my file. I'm trying to extract my file. Untar, JDK, and Hadoop. So these are my approaches and command I'm writing simultaneously here in this instances. Clear my screen again and lslrt. When I type lslrt, I can see Hadoop and JDK is there. Now I'll extract one by one. And extraction command is tar, because my extension is tar, along with the gun zip. So I'll give minus zxvf. Z stands for zip file. Xvf is a command for extraction. And I'll give my file name. Enter this. You can do benchmarking. Do the same in your VM if you're using any Ubuntu and your local VM. Check the time and do the benchmarking. This is way faster than your local OS anytime. And you're using currently how many RAM and CPU. This is just a work of 1 GB RAM and 1 CPU. Imagine if you have 8 GB RAM and 16 GB RAM. This is like a rocket. Second, I'll extract my JDK. So once I have extracted, again I will list this file. I can see Hadoop and JDK both here with their respective versions. Now step number 8. Step number 8. Create a folder or create a directory, because in Unix terms we call directory. In Windows term we call it's a folder. Create a directory for Hadoop and JDK and JDK. Okay. So where I'm creating this directory, the standard location to create a directory is user lib. Standard location to create a directory is user lib. So you can give a command mkdir. This is a command to make directory, and and you want to create it user lib. Why I'm creating it this directory? Because this can only be operated by administrator. Other user cannot access this file. So I'm securing my Hadoop and JDK that if anybody wants to randomly manipulate, they should not be able to. So I'm fixing the permission. I'm giving this access to me only. Okay. As an admin. So same thing you can do also. And this is a standard directory where we keep Hadoop and JDK, and whatever file related to Hadoop stack will keep inside /usr/lib directory. I want to give name of Hadoop. Okay. And click enter. When I enter, I did this intentionally to you guys. When I enter, I see access issues. It says me permission denied. Now we know the solution. Whenever you get permission denied in Unix, in Hadoop, or anywhere in any operating system, there's only one command to rescue, is a sudo. Sudo stands for super user. So if I type sudo before this command, my this permission denied access will go, because sudo stands for super user, which means my system immediately understand that okay, this guy is admin. The admin has all the full access. Now will allow to create the directory. I'll use sudo before that, and now I'm not getting any exception. Always you should verify. So go to user lib and check whether this directory is created or not. I'll do it all together. Let me create it for Java also. I'll give name as a JDK, enter. And now I'll go to cd user lib to verification purpose. I'll type lslrt Can you see last two files? These are Hadoop and JDK created with a today's date, 11th April. This time zone is coming of some other UTC or GMT, I feel, because this is not definitely IST. Okay, so let's not about then get a worry about this time and all. We have created folder. We'll clear this screen again, and now I'll move my file. So these are my Hadoop and JDK. My directory is created. Now I'm going to move extracted file, move extracted file. In fact, it's not a file, it's a directory now. Move extracted directory of Hadoop and JDK to where? To newly created directory. To newly created directory. Okay, let's do the ninth step. Command, move command is there. So I'll type sudo. I'm just writing sudo. It's my habit because should not get that permission denied exception again and again. So just to come out of that permission denied, I'm writing sudo everywhere. Sudo mv Hadoop space. I want to move this to user lib and Hadoop. Remember, guys, this follows. This is your source and this is your destination. So I want to move this file from here to there. Okay. If I enter this, and again type lslrt, can you see Hadoop? Extracted Hadoop folder. It has been successfully moved from this directory to user lib Hadoop directory. Similar step I will repeat for Java. So sudo move JDK 1.8, and one thing, guys, this is very tiny thing, but I think I should tell you this. There's this, if you by mistaken type slash here, remember one is without slash, one with slash. Problem is with slash. And what is the problem with slash? So this JDK is a folder. This JDK is a folder. You can see it here. It's a directory. It's a DR, right? DR stands for directory. So this JDK is a directory. Now, if I give this slash after this name, you know what will happen? All the files which are part of this directory. Suppose here I have 12 files. So all these 12 files will go, not this folder will go. When you type this slash, this folder will not move. This 12 file will move to this JDK, which definitely I'll give here JDK. Let me correct it first. So this is JDK. If I type this, my 12 file will move, but I want to move the entire directory. That's why do not give this slash. Tiny thing, but this screwed you again. Like you think why this is not moving just because of one simple mistake. Fine, so enter it now, and again ls larty list your file. Your both Hadoop and JDK have been successfully moved from here to there. Okay, if you want to re-verify again, you can go there and re-verify them. I recommend to do that. To go to Hadoop directory and check whether Hadoop file is there or not, and similarly for JDK. Now, step number 10th, to set up the path. How do we set up path in Windows? So we go to environment variables, my computer, we set system path, we set system variable, we give some alias name, right? We follow 3 to 4 steps to set up the path. Mostly JDK, if you guys have set JDK or Java in your Windows machine, okay? But the same thing I'm going to do, approach is different here because this is Unix based OS. In 10th step, I'm setting set path for Hadoop and JDK. Okay, and I know this is located in user lib. This is also located in user lib. And where do we set this path? Just like in Windows, we have environment variable. Here we have a file name called .bashrc. Here my file name is .bashrc. Okay, but where will I get this? This .bashrc file, let me write as a small note here. Small note. .bashrc file is present in home directory. In home directory. And you know how to go to home directory? To go to home directory, you can type cd and enter. That's it. Or you can even use echo command. Echo is a command for printing. So if you type echo home, you'll get your home directory. This both option is with you. So cd has already taken me there. If I check present working directory, I can see /home and /ubuntu. To check the file, we know the command lslrt, but I cannot see where is the .bashrc, because whenever any file is starting with a dot, whenever you see any file starting with a dot, it's a hidden file, and lslrt will not list your hidden file. To list hidden file, will use a command ls minus al. Al stands for all. Now enter, and you will see this is your bash rc. Let me open this bash rc using there are multiple modes. So I can use sudo vi, I can use sudo vim, I can use sudo nano. These are the editor. In again, I'm relating most of the time Windows because most of you people have Windows. So just like Notepad we have, this is the similar command to open one editor. I like more vi because this is fast and elegant. I'll open this bash rc, enter. When I open this, so I want to write that information at last. I want to write that information at last. And to go directly to last, you can use :0. :0 take you at first, and shift G take you at last. Last means last line of the file. If you're not comfortable doing this, no problem. You can type I in the keyboard. So I'm typing I in the keyboard. I. You can see at last extreme left, there's a insert mode. Now it has allowed me to insert any information. Okay. I'll use my cursor. I'm not using any command. One thing I said you shift G will take you directly at last. But if you're confusing doing that, you can go one by one using your down keyword. Once you're at last, you can give a comment here that you're setting it up Java and Hadoop. Now I'm exporting my path. I'll say here export Java underscore home, because I'm setting Java first. The next line, I'll say export Hadoop underscore home. I'll give a path of Hadoop and JDK respectively, one by one. Then I'm adding their path. I'll say export path is equal to, I'll append their executable location. And you know what is the executable location? All the operating system. I can execute any file from their bin directory. Because this is one directory which has all the executable file, that .exe file, right? This .exe file is inside bin folder. Now this depends again on OS. Maybe in Windows you will find this. In Linux you will find often this .sh. sh stands for cell. Okay. So currently I want to append this path till the bin so that I can access any Hadoop related service, and I can call anytime Java also. So Hadoop and Java, if I append here in path, I can access it from anywhere. Not necessary that I will have to go to this directory every time, which is user lib Hadoop, and one was user lib JDK. I repeat again. What I'm doing currently, actually I'm trying to concise my part so that I should not be visiting this folder again and again to access Hadoop and access JDK. Once this path is set, I can access Hadoop and JDK from anywhere within this machine, not specific to this directory. Okay. So in path I will append, I'll give this value, okay? I'll give this value, just wait. Then I'll write path, $path. If you want to access anything, you write dollar here. Dollar is as an argument. $path colon $Java, or actually this would be a little confusing if I do not write the value. Let me do this one by one. So first I will get the address of Java. And where is the Java located? User lib JDK lslrt. Take this address pwd. I never recommend to write this manually. Don't write this manually, guys. Take this address. First go to that directory, type pwd, copy this, and again go back to your bash rc and paste it here. Paste it here. Control V. Done. If I want to save this, I'm using escape button, escape keyword in my key in my keyboard. Then shift colon, and there's two commands: WQ for save. If you don't want to save it, you can only type Q. WQ stand for write and quit, and only Q stand for quit. So if you made, let's say, some mistake by default, some error you did here, some other values you have written which you did not want to write, so you can quickly quit it without saving it. Since I want to save it currently, I'll say WQ, and at last is a exclamation mark. Exclamation mark is for overriding. Okay. Once this is done, I'll get it address of Hadoop, and I know where is Hadoop located. cd user lib Hadoop, and I'll get address of Hadoop. Same thing I'm doing, guys. I'm taking again address of this Hadoop. Control C. Let me clear the screen. cd. Okay. I'll open again my bash rc, and here I'll paste it. Here I'll paste it. I've given my Hadoop and JDK path. Now I'll append it. $path colon $Java home slash, what did I say? Your everything is inside bin directory. So you'll have to append this till bin, because writing this value is referring this address only. This address is having one variable called Java home. This is a variable. And if I'm giving $Java home, which means I'm trying to access this value. So it's up to you. You want to write this whole value here, or you just want to write $Java home slash bin. Same thing I will repeat it for Hadoop also. Hadoop $_home slash bin. So Hadoop uses two different directory, one bin directory and one sbin directory, where I can access that executable file. So here I will write colon Hadoop _home slash sbin. Okay, these two addresses required. Once you are double sure, guys, do not write this information in between somewhere here, because if you make such mistake, you this bash rc is your mother file. It's like this is a main system file of your Ubuntu. If any line is corrupted, you cannot access this bash rc file. Remember this. So double sure, check every single line in, are you giving any extra spaces or not. Once you're sure about it that everything is fine in place, save this now. So I'm typing escape again, shift colon WQ, right quit, and exclamation mark. If I don't want to write it again, I will use Q colon. Okay, remember this when you do your own practice. WQ and done. Step number 10 is done. Step number 11, Last step to check the version. 11th step is to check the version. So 11th step I will, one second. In 11th step I will execute dot bash rc file, because you know what will happen if I directly try to check my version of Java. This is a command to check the version of Java. Can you see it says command Java not found? But again, I'm surprised that I set it there, right? I just set it there. If I want to see the value cat.bashrc and I want to see the last few lines, so I'll give 10. When I run this command, I can see that everything is in place already. But why I'm not able to get Java version? Because I have not run this command, which is at 11th number. Execute.bashrc file. And how you execute this bashrc file? Using command called source. You can use source space dot bash rc, or you can only use dot and dot bash rc. You can use anyone. Once I've given this, let me run the same command now. So this command, what this command does, this command execute your all three line. This enable all three line, this execute all three line, and says, okay, Hadoop in JDK is now set. If I type Hadoop also, let me actually clear the screen. Java minus version. This is a command to check the version of Java, and this is a command to check version of Hadoop 1.8.0 and 2.6. This is what our scope was to 8. This is my step number. The whole thing is just one activity. So from 6th step to 11th, I have followed to set up my JDK and Hadoop in my Ubuntu. Once this is done, my 11th step will start from 12th step will start from it. This is related to all your configuration. This is related to all your configuration. And in Hadoop, we need 5 different configuration file. I'll name it. Configuration file which are there in Hadoop. Core site.xml. Core site.xml. This is responsible to set up name node. So name node activities, all this information will set in core site.xml. Second, hdfs hyphen site.xml. This is for replication factor. And we know replication factor is in production is 3, but currently you're doing single node cluster setup. So what should be the value of replication? It should be 1, okay? If you give 3 also, it doesn't make sense. It will just copy one time. Because if you have one node, you keep it 1000 also, it will give just one copy. I'll give my information about name node metadata, where metadata will store, where name node metadata will store. I'm basically giving the path here, and where my data will store of data node. So this is related to name node, and this is related to data node. I will write the properties. Let me just write the name first, configuration names. Third file is a yarn site XML. Third file is a yarn site.xml. This is for resource manager and node manager. Fourth one is my MapRate site XML. MapRate site XML. For execution of jobs, for monitoring of jobs, we are setting this. Fifth is Hadoop env.sh. Because Hadoop is a framework. Hadoop is a framework, and this framework is written in which language? This is written in Java and native C. So if you want to use a Hadoop services, if you want to run a Hadoop services, when I say services, I mean daemons, name node, data node, secondary name node, resource manager, and node manager. If I want to run the services, this services needs some memory to run it, and
Who will provide this memory? Java will provide their memory. That is the reason you need Java setup here. And this Java setup I did in my bash RC. One more value I will pass in this Hadoop hyphen env dot sh. So that whenever I invoke these daemons, they should be able to read all JVM memory from here and execute their command. So this configuration file are present where? This configuration file are present inside Hadoop directory. Let's go to Hadoop directory. Now I can use Hadoop like this. If I type this, because if you write this and if you write this, both are exactly the same thing. So if you already know the concise and simple approach, why to write the complex approach? Hadoop home. If I type pwd, I can see where is my current location, my present working directory. lslrt, so many folders in couple of files, readme, notice, license. Most important files are this. Lib all Hadoop related dependencies are here. All Hadoop related jar file. This jar is nothing but dependency. This is all inside lib directory. All my configuration, this configuration is inside etc directory. All configuration. How about bin? Bin all executable Hadoop command. Executable Hadoop command. Okay. So you need lib etc bin. This is the main folders everywhere, not just Hadoop. If I set up later on or show you a scoop also, if I do with Hive also, if I do with Pig also, if I go with HBase also, if I set up Kafka, if I set up a Spark, this directories are important directories. And remember this, they're meant for what purpose? Since I want to do configuration currently, I'll go to etc cd etc lslrt. Inside this, there is a Hadoop. Let's go inside Hadoop and type lslrt. Can you see the name? There are so many files listed, all XML file. This is the file which we want to access. This is the all XML file. Let's see one by one. This is the core side XML for name node thing. This is HDFS side XML for replication factor. This is yarn site XML for resource manager activity. This is MapRate site XML. I'll make a XML from this template. Okay, I'll copy this file or maybe move this file. And one more file, because we had 5 files there. One more is a Hadoop env.sh. This one. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and 5. These 5 files are important. This setup I'm doing currently in Ubuntu, that's why I'm using this file. Suppose you're doing in Windows. You can see there's a file with the same, for the same file, it has an extension of .xml. It has one extension for .cmd. Whenever you see .cmd, it's what? So .cmd is for Windows-based OS. All right. So this is all your configuration. Now let's start the configuration. Now what I'm writing, I'll not recommend you to remember all the point, because again, this is all done by administrator. But this file you should remember, guys. You should remember this file, that name node activity you're reading, or you're reading property of name node in which machine, and likewise in all the configuration. What I'm writing is XML information. Sudo vi core site.xml, and inside this configuration, I will write these values. Inside this configuration, I'll write this values. Property, let me create a tag first. Property slash property. So XML is always written like this only. Open tag and close tag. Property, close property. Name, close name tag. Value, close value tag. Okay. So if you remember, it's well and good. Obviously, having information more and more is always beneficial. But if you do not remember this, you can go to, let me write it first, then I'll take you there. fs dot default fs. fs dot default fs. This is the name not given by me. This is the name given by Apache, the community which has built this terrific Hadoop framework. Value I'll give hdfs colon slash double slash. And currently I'm doing this in my local machine, right? This is local machine as in I'm doing this in Ubuntu. So I'm not going to communicate from one machine to second machine. This is a single node cluster. So in single node cluster, how many IPs are there? In order to see the IP, you can type ifconfig. So one IP is this IP. This is your private IP. And localhost is available and present in all the machine. So localhost, we can access it anytime, but only within the system communication. But what if I want to communicate? Let me draw one picture. What if I want to communicate from this machine, from this node to this node? If I want to make a communication between this machine, then I will have to use this IP address. Currently, I'm talking within this machine only, all the communication, file transfer and all. That's how I'll use this IP. Remember, when you're using this IP and when you're using this IP. For remote communication and for multi-node cluster, yes, for multi-node cluster, we'll not be using this IP. We'll be using this IP. But for single node, we'll using this IP. We are not using this IP. Let me open that file again. And here I will write localhost. I can write 127.0.0.1, or I can write localhost also. Both will work. Localhost. Okay. And there's a port number defined by Apache. So there are two port number for communication purpose. 8020, and you can give 9000 also. Whichever you give, that's okay. So 8020 and 9000. I'm giving 9000. Property added, name is given. Let's save it. Save this now. So one configuration is done, and where you can get this all information. So you can get this all information right here. Type single node cluster in Hadoop 2.x or with Hadoop 2.x. When you type this, you can get many links. You can get this link also of related to poverty. If you click, you will get all this information available here. There's one official page of Apache also. If you click this, you can see all that information. I have added currently this. If you remember, I've added this fs.default fs. Now likewise, I'll be adding for all this one by one. For name node, for data node, sorry, for resource manager, for node manager, for yarn set XML, and in other configuration files. So let me do that. Sudo vi. Next, I'll open hdfs site.xml. Just to save my time, what I will do, I will add this property. So core site XML, I'll take few lines from here and I'll add this property. So when I add this property, I can just go there and copy and paste and change the value inside this name and value. Name name is dfs dot replication, and value is 1, right? Second, I want to set for name node metadata directory. So here it will be dfs dot name dot directory, dfs dot name dot directory, and I'll give any path. I'll give my path /home /ubuntu. This was the home directory, and here runtime it will create one folder called name, and inside this folder it will keep all the metadata. If you're able to recall what do I mean by metadata? FS images, file system images, and edit logs. This is my two metadata, right? I'll show you this. Once my cluster is ready, I will show you this, how this looks like. What is the size of it? We have seen that 128 MB rack awareness, 150 bytes as a metadata, everything we will prove, okay? Second, I'll give for data node directory, dfs dot data dot directory, and here I will give again same home Ubuntu, and this time I want to create a folder called data. This folder should not be present by default. Remember this mistake we make sometime, that we create this folder. If you create this folder, your service will not start. So make sure this is not there. It will create at runtime. Save this value. Now I'll quickly go with all other file one by one, and I'm copy pasting now. Okay, I'm not writing values one by one. So I'll take value from my configuration file and edit there. AWS yarn setup. Okay, I'll take my yarn site XML information from here, all this property, and paste it inside this. Yarn node manager awk services. This is for shuffling and sorting. When we go to process part of MapReduce, we'll see how this information is important. Because when we say Hadoop, we know two components, right? First component was HDFS, and second component was MapReduce. In HDFS, three services: name node, data node, secondary name node. For MapReduce processing, that's what this yarn is currently. Yarn is for resource manager and node manager. So process part we have not yet seen how the process thing will start. So when we start writing a sample code, of MapReduce, then we'll see how this whole MR flow works. MR has total 10 steps to follow through. Okay, and to follow their steps. So we'll see this all in sample code when we design this MapReduce. That's what this setting is required to follow this MapReduce flow, not for storage. For storage, only these three services are important. And we have seen this is for core site XML, and there is one more for HDFS site XML. This two is done already. MapReduce shuffle, node manager awk services. Save this file, sudo vi, and MapReduce is not there. This XML file is not there, MapReduce site XML. So I'll rename it. I'll say mv MapReduce site XML, MapReduce site XML. So I'm trying to remove this template. Now I'll open my MapReduce site XML. Read again the property from here. So get the values of MapReduce and read this property. What is your framework? MapReduce framework dot name. Why this is important, I'll tell you here. So we know this is my storage HDFS. This is one storage layer. This is my storage layer, and this is my MR, or maybe you'll see Spark also as we go forward in this course. This is my application layer where I will write my code to process that data. Right? This is my application layer. So in between these two, in Hadoop 1.x we had just this two layer. In 2.x we got another layer as yarn. That's what I'm setting up. Yarn stands for computation layer. Computation layer. Computation of what? Computation of this two thing. Now, how many RAM and how many CPU is required by individual jobs is completely taken care by yarn. All that internal calculation yarn is doing. How many RAM, how many CPU per job is looking for. That's what I'm setting currently. Maprate.job.tracker, this will be tracked using this port number 9001. Remember, in course at XML, I gave 9000. That's why I'm giving here 9001. If you guys are using for core site XML, this one use this. If you're using 8020, then use this 8021. Remember this point. Always it is one increment. And why this? Because communication or IOPS time will be less to communicate between near port numbers. This is fourth file. Last file is Hadoop env.sh. Hadoop env.sh, environmental file. Hadoop environment file. Let me open this. Sudo vi, and before that I will take an address of Java. Can I type echo Java home to get the address of Java? Copy this and open this file. Sudo vi Hadoop env.sh. Scroll down. You'll find in the line number, if you want to set the line, you can type :set num. When you type, this is easy to read, right? So line number 25. In line number 25, export is equal to export space Java home, and it is asking to set up this Java home here. Since this is not set, I'll say okay. Let me paste it here. Just like in bash RC we did, taken this value and paste it here. So this is my Java path. This is the one which my Hadoop services required to take all the memory from here. Now my all configuration file is in place. All 5 configuration file is in place. You can re-verify. Always it's a better practice that you verify everything is in place or not. Once this is in place, configuration is done, guys. Configuration is done. 13th step is network configuration. It's a network configuration. So let's start this from 13th step. We'll start tomorrow. Network configuration, because this is a 3 different code line I need to write here. 3 different. Let me write it. I'll explain it tomorrow. This, okay? I'm not running in this machine. I'm just writing it here. So SSH I will run tomorrow. SSH keys in my first terminal. I'll create one SSH key. Then second I'll use my cat.ssh. One ID will be there. Do not worry, I'll explain you this tomorrow, okay? Because today this needs a 20 to 30 minutes of discussion. That's why I'm holding our session here. .ssh id_rsa .pub public. This 2 sign is for append, right? If you want to append something, one line is for overwrite. These are all Unix syntax. If you just give this one greater than sign, it's a override sign. If you give this two sign of similar greater than, it's a override sign. Dot ssh slash authorized keys. I'll set this key here in this file, and then when anywhere is coming. So what I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to save one key. I'm trying to save one key in this machine. So anybody, any local host comes, let's say you guys want to communicate to this IP. So this IP will understand only this local host and this machine key. And this key only I'm trying to save here using the second step. The last step is SSH copy ID -i dot SSH slash ID underscore RSA dot pub. Username is my Ubuntu, and I want to connect this with my localhost. This 3 command will run tomorrow in our terminal, and this will be the last step. After configuration, then 14th step, we are good to start the services. So today summary, we first spin our EC2 instance. We set all our resources, RAM, CPU, hard disk, rules. Once this is launched, we downloaded JDK Hadoop, extracted the file of Hadoop and JDK, set up the path, and then did configuration. Tomorrow we'll start we'll resume from here.